Welcome to today's tutorial. I'll encourage you to please stay to the end of this tutorial because you will learn a lot of things in this tutorial. We're going to be looking at a very important aspect of our data analysis skill, and that is the dashboard. The dashboard. How to create an interesting visual using Microsoft Excel. I would like us to be very systematic. We will not be in a hurry. I will try to make sure that I explain every point in today's class. But what you will do for me is to follow me, write down, and pay attention to every single point I will make. I will try to be well detailed. I will try to explain every of my points, and I'm going to also look at other areas to make sure that you have a holistic benefit of today's tutorial. In our today's tutorial particularly, our major concern will be on how to build an interactive data analysis dashboard using Microsoft Excel. How to build an interactive data analysis dashboard using Microsoft Excel. For you to understand this class well, I believe you must have gone through my previous classes, especially that of pivot table and that of Power Pivot. The last class dwelt on the use of pivot table, Power Pivot, and then we did a lot of thorough data cleaning and data transformation. If you've not gone through that lecture, please try to go through it so that you can make most use of this particular one that we are dealing with today. This presentation today, or rather, our class today will begin with a presentation. And the reason for this presentation is to help you understand what an interactive data analysis dashboard is. Already we have a real life data to use. We're going to demonstrate the lecture step by step in Microsoft Excel. But before we go into that, let's just take a little presentation that will help us guide us through on how to create an interactive dashboard in Excel and possibly learn to transform raw data into insightful visualization. And eventually, we're going to discover how to empower data-driven decisions using Excel powerful features. So I'd like you to please move with me. You can pause the video at any point, rewind it, try to understand, then continue. Now, what is a data analysis dashboard and why do we use Excel? It is not as if there are no other platforms that we can use to handle this, like the Power BI and the Tableau. But today, we are interested in using Microsoft Excel. Some of you don't know that Microsoft Excel is so powerful to this point of using it to create an interactive dashboard. But that's what we're going to do today. So what is data analysis dashboard? When you hear of dashboard, what do we mean? What are we up to? And why do we use Excel? Now, Data analysis dashboard is a visual tool, or we'll talk about a visual tool. Like I told you, I'm going to break down everything so that even if you're a beginner, even if you didn't listen to my previous courses, you will still have something to go home with. But I strongly recommend that you do go back to my previous lectures, listen to it, and then you understand. And then for your benefit also, this particular presentation will be in the description section of this particular tutorial. So you can go there and download it and possibly use it for yourself also to understand in more details and even teach someone. Remember that when you teach somebody, you have a grasp of what you've learned by up to 90%. So I encourage you to do that. So a data analysis dashboard is simply a visual tool for monitoring, analyzing, and displaying key data points. When we try to get a data set, no matter how huge it is, then we pick some key indicators and represent them in a visual form. In a visual form is in a form that it can easily be summarized. That's when you can say you've designed a dashboard. It provides insights at a glance. That is, when you look at it at a glance, you can easily make a summary of what the data is talking about. You can see the trend, or you can see the biggest or the smallest because it is visually presented. And one good thing about the dashboard also is that it enables informed decisions. It helps you to be able to take decisions faster in business processes. Why Excel? Why do we use Excel? These are the reasons why we can lay our hands, we can use Excel. One is that Excel is accessible. Almost every desktop around that has the Office application has Microsoft Excel in it. So Excel is accessible. Excel is versatile. Excel can be used for so many things. So that versatility is one major reason why we use it. Excel is widely used. Everybody uses it. Virtually every company uses Excel. Most companies, as a matter of fact, even those that use Power BI, Tableau, will also have to leverage on Excel on certain things. So it's widely used. It offers a range of features for data manipulation and visualization. Excel is one application that can offer you several features for data manipulation, data cleaning, data transformation, and data visualization. What are the benefits of using Excel? Real-time insights. Excel can give you real-time insights. It can improve decision making. It enhances communication and increased efficiency. These are the main benefits of using Microsoft Excel. Then the next thing we're going to go into is planning your dashboard. You don't just get into designing a dashboard. You take time to plan your dashboard. You don't get a data set and begin to clean it, and after cleaning it, you just go ahead and transform and begin to build a dashboard. No. You take time to plan your dashboard by defining your objectives and key metrics. What do I want to achieve? What are my objectives? What does the company want? The company that owns this data set, what do they really want? Where do they have their interest? Do they have their interest in profit and loss? Do they have their interest in uh, uh, staff performances or customers? What are the areas? Then you talk about the key metrics. So these are the things. Now, in defining objectives, you clearly have to outline the purpose of your dashboard. What purpose will this dashboard serve? What questions should I answer with this dashboard? After creating a dashboard, you must have it in mind that the dashboard is meant to answer questions. We're going to see how, when we finish our own dashboard, we can be able to use it to answer questions. And it's going to answer questions in a very quick and flexible way. You will see it. Then the next thing is to identify key metrics. Identify key metrics. Select the most relevant performance indicators. It's not everything that the data set can give you that you have to put on your data on your dashboard. There are some key performance indicators. Maybe the company has interest in profit, revenue, staff performances, average performance of staff or customers. Now, you'll be able to go to those key things. You focus on metrics that drive business values. That's another very important thing. It's possible the company you're working for might not tell you exactly what they need, but you have to focus on the metrics that drive business values. There are certain metrics that drive business values. Maybe the company might want to know which products was sold most at a certain point, which period of the year did we make the greatest profit. These are business values. These are the major metrics that drives the business value. So these are things that you need to consider. And then another important thing is who are my audience? My dashboard, who am I preparing it for? You have to tailor your dashboard to the specific needs of its users. There are different users. I'd like you to go back to my first lecture on where I dealt with roadmap to becoming a data analyst. You will see that we have different users. It's talk about the stakeholders, talk about the business analyst. You can talk about anybody. So you have to tailor your dashboard to suit the specific needs of your audience. Then the next point is data preparation. Remember, you don't just get a data set and begin to work on it. This one, we've dealt with it extensively in our previous lectures. Get my previous lectures on data cleaning and transformation, and you will see more of this. You prepare the data, possibly by importing the data, cleaning the data, and transforming the data. In importing the data, we are talking about your data source. You can connect to various data sources. Possibly, you might be using a CSV file or an Excel file or a data set from database. It can be a web query. You can scrape the data from Wikipedia, or maybe it could be a survey conducted using a Google form, and you might need to scrape the data from the Google Sheet. So all of them falls under importing the data. Then the next thing is you clean the data. Data analysis and dashboard building dashboard is just like going to the market, buying some things and coming to cook. You don't just come with all the meat, the fish into the kitchen and you begin to cook them, put them inside the pot. You have to do some cleanings, and some things might need to be removed. So some meats might need to be seasoned That's more or less like transformation. So you transform some things, you clean some things. Some of the things you bought in the market, you don't use them exactly the way they are. Sometimes you might need to cut them. That's transformation. Your vegetable, you transform it by cutting. So exactly the same thing happens to data too. What you transform the data, you might not have some columns available for you. You might need to get the columns there. You convert the data, convert data types under transforming data. So some columns might not be in the proper data type, like a column that is supposed to be has data type of number, might have that of text or date. You might need to convert it, and a need might also arise for you to create what we call calculated fields or calculated columns. That's a situation whereby you are giving something like a quantity sold and unit price, and you need to know the revenue. So you might need to pay that column for revenue, and in some cases also you might also have to aggregate data. So the next thing now will be the core Excel features for dashboard. There are some core features in Excel that are usually suitable for building a dashboard. They fall under formulas and functions. One is the sum function. This will help you to actually build some calculated columns. So you can calculate totals and the rest of them. Then you have the average. This helps you to find the average value. We've dealt with this. You can refer back to my previous lectures and you'll be able to pick up this. Then you talk about the if function, which we use for conditional logic. All these play some great roles when we are dealing with data transformation. And then we have the VLOOKUP, which we use for looking up for some data, searching for data. Then let's go to visualizing data. In data visualization, one thing plays the most important role, and that's charts and graphs. Charts, graphs. Of course, when we talk about visualization, we're talking about putting charts and graphs together in such a way that they will make meaning and drive some business decisions faster. Then we also have conditional formatting too. Under the charts and graphs, we'll talk about using various chart types like the bar chart, the line chart, the pie chart, the scatter charts, to be able to interpret some data. Now, we choose the most effective for our data. We're going to look at which chart or which graph is better used for a particular purpose. It is true you might want to use any chart or graph to represent a set of data, but the truth is that some charts or graphs are better suitable for some specific purposes. Then we talk about the conditional formatting. The conditional formatting. In this case, we highlight trends, patterns, and outliers. We use color scales and icons, icon sets, and data bars. That is when we want to look at things like the trends and patterns. We're going to look at some of these things as we move on. Then another important aspect of visualizing data is the pivot table. As a matter of fact, the pivot table plays the most important role. It is the quickest, it is the easiest, it is the most interesting, and it helps us to summarize and analyze large data sets. No matter how large the data set is, pivot table can summarize it in splits of seconds. It will help us to create interactive reports and dashboards. Then We're going to look at one important thing that actually makes the dashboard looks automated, and that is adding interactivity. Your dashboard will remain a dead one if there is no interactivity. So one of the things we do to our dashboard is to make it interactive. That's why we call it an interactive dashboard. And this is achieved by adding slicers, timelines, and form controls. We're going to look at that as we progress. Then, what are the dashboard design principles? Some authors will call this best practices. You can decide to design your dashboard the way you like it, but there are certain principles that will make your recruiter like your dashboard. There are certain properties, certain features that will make your dashboard attractive. We'll look at the layout, the dashboard layout. You must be very careful with the arrangement of the individual visuals on your dashboard. Remember, a dashboard may contain two or more visuals. You watch your color, and that thing also is the user experience. That is the buttons there, the clickings there, the interactive nature, how the user could click and get to this and summarize this. These are all the things that makes it look interesting. And the number one thing there is the clarity. You can see the triangle there. Number one thing there is the clarity. Let your dashboard be clear. Don't let it be clustered or so clumsy. Make it clear so that anybody that looks at it can easily, in split of seconds, summarize what you are doing. That's clarity. Number two, make your dashboard simple, simplicity. Don't make it look so cumbersome. Don't exhibit all the skills you have in dashboard design just in one dashboard. Don't put all the properties of dashboard design in one. Keep it simple. Try as much as you can to keep it simple. As a matter of fact, simplicity is the key in dashboard design. Number three, consistency. Try to be consistent with colors. Be consistent with arrangement. Be consistent with, if you're following a particular pattern, follow that pattern to the end. Don't try to use this now and use a different one altogether. It doesn't look good. And the fourth one, let your dashboard be visually appealing. Without even knowing what you've analyzed there, let it be attracting. Try to make it look attractive. Somebody looks at it before even he begins to look at the technical aspect of what you've done. Let it be appealing. Let it be good. Let it be interesting to the eyes. Let it be so powerful. Try to prioritize a clear, simple, and consistent layout. Use colors effectively to highlight key information. Ensure a positive user experience. These are some of the things you need to put into cognizance as you work. Now, we're going to use a real-world example in this our tutorial. We'll use a real-world example, and we're going to consider building a sales performance dashboard. Sales performance dashboard. And we're going to choose some key metrics like total sales revenue, sales growth, sales by region, top performing product, top performing customer, top performing staff, the best region, and the rest of them. We're going to look at those kind of metrics, and in our visuals, we're going to use visuals like line charts, possibly for sales trend, bar charts for maybe regional performance, pie chart for product distribution, and for maybe revenue distribution over a period of time, maybe 2, 3 years, and the rest of them. So these are the things we're going to look at. Then in the interactive nature of our dashboard, we're going to insert slicers. We use it to filter, perform some filterings, possibly by region, by year, by salespersons, and as the case may be, by product categories. And we're going to have timelines also for analyzing our sales over time. That's why we're going to bring in the time series. Then these are some tips and tricks I want you to get. Some tips and tricks I want you to get to know. You may call it best practices for Excel dashboard development. Best practices for Excel dashboard development. Very, very important. Please don't ignore this. Number one, plan. Don't just stand up and begin to do anything. Plan. Clearly define your objectives. What are my objectives? What do I intend to achieve? Now I have a data set given to me. What and what do I intend to achieve? What questions am I supposed to answer? Then two, simplify. Try to keep it concise. Don't make it cumbersome. Remember, at times you're dealing with stakeholders that might not have the whole time to look at all your work. So make it as simple as possible. Let me repeat again. Make it as simple as possible. Some of us think, oh, make it so cumbersome and so big that it's going to attract any extra mark. No, the simplicity is the main thing because of your audience. The number three, automate it. Automate it. In this case now, we'll bring in the Power Query. We'll bring in the Power Query. Try to make it look automated. And then the last one is test. You try to gather feedback. When you are done with your dashboard, what do people say about it? People's reaction. These are all the things that you need to observe. So having looked at this, I think it's time for us to head on to the classroom and see you in the classroom immediately. So we have a data set given to us. It's inside this dashboard video lecture. And this is the data set, sales data set. To double click to open it. If you go to the description section of this tutorial, you will see this data set and you can download it and follow me as we continue. Remember, it's important to follow me step by step. Don't just watch the video, but follow me gradually. Do it with me. Every step I take, I will explain. I will even explain so many things that are outside this course, so that even if you're new, you'll understand. Remember, if you've not watched my videos on pivot table and the power pivot, you might need to go back to it because they will help you to understand what we're talking about. Okay, so looking at this data set now, you can see is a sales data set for the past 3 years, 2013, 2014, and 2015. These are accumulated data collected over 3 years by a company, and we're expected to analyze it. And if you look at this data set, you can conduct some exploratory data analysis on it to know one or two things. For instance, if I want to know number of data that is inside this, if I click on this first one, I hold on my shift and my control key, and I tap the down arrow, it takes me to the end of the data set. You can see, as you can see, we have 448 entries here across different years. Then you want to go back and hold down my control key also and tap the up arrow key and it takes me back to the end. Now, if you look at this closely also, you will notice that we have we have one row empty here, one row empty here. Yeah, this is for best practice. The reason is because if this row is not here, for instance, if I remove this row now and this thing is joined together, so Excel will see the entire thing as one table. But when you have a row added, inserted between, sorry, when you have a row inserted between two rows, it demarcates that the two of them and makes this one a separate table. It makes this one a separate list and makes this one a separate list. In other words, it makes this one a separate data set and this is a separate data set. You understand the reason why it is done so. So the first thing we will do while creating a dashboard is to format this data set as table. Format it as table. We've dealt with this previously, but if you've forgotten, you can still listen very well. You understand it. Let's format this as tables. Simply click into any of the cells. You don't need to highlight all of them. Click into any of the cells within the tab, within the data set. Then you go to home. From the styles group, you will see format as table. Format as table. Click on this drop down arrow. Any of these themes you choose will do the same thing. It's just that it will give you different theme styles. So I looks like purple, so I choose this. And when I choose this, you will notice something here that you will notice that something like a matching ant around that data set, excluding the heading. This is because of this demarcation. When I clicked into a cell here, automatically the Excel engine assumes that this is my table and the assumption is correct. So you can see where is the data for your table, circulate it, and notice this, that my table has headers also, and that is correct. Excel sees this data set entirely and assumes that the first row must be the header. That's Excel assumption, and in this case, that's usually correct. So I click OK, and you will notice that my data set has been formatted as table. And when that is done, you will see a contextual tab appear. This tab wasn't here before. Table design wasn't here before. Okay, let me undo what I did before. I do Control Z. You notice that we only have home, insert, page layout, formulas, data review, and I would that ended in Power Pivot in my case now. So let me go ahead and format as table again. Now click OK. Did you see it comes up with this table design? Yes, it's a contextual tab that is used in working on tables. So when it appears, click on this table design and you will see the table has been given a name up here. You see the name here, table name, table 5 by default. I want to delete it and call it data, I'll call it sales data. But take note, when you're typing sales data, don't give space. So either you type it as one word or you separate with an underscore, sales data. If you give space, Excel will not accept it. So it's for professional purposes and best practices. Just do it as we move on. You understand when we go into Power Pivot, you understand why this sales data is named. Now, if you look at this table also, you will realize that there's something that looks like an error here. An error. Yeah, it's nothing. All you need to do is just click on this first cell and hold down your shift and your control key then tap the down arrow key to be able to highlight the entire row. And when you do that, then go to the first one and you see the error icon appearing, telling you that the cell is inconsistent with the column formula. All you do is click on this arrow and just say ignore the error and it goes. So the same thing happens here also. Can do likewise. If you want to remove it, you hold down, click on the first cell, then hold down the shift, your shift and your control key and the down arrow key. Then scroll up back again, or you look at this, then you click on the arrow here and say ignore all, and that's all. So has to get rid of that green spot there. Now look at the table now, because it has look at this, because the data set has been formatted as table. You will notice the filter appears at the top of each field. These are fields. This is the year field, the month field, the type, cells. And meanwhile, look at the table now, or look at data set now. You notice that data set has about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fields. The year the transaction was made, the particular month, the type here refers to the item that was sold, the person that sold the item, that's the salesperson, then the region in which the item was sold, the amount, then the quantity, that's the unit, and the order number. You notice that each transaction here has unique order number. No two transactions here will have the same order number. That is what we're going to talk about later. Now, looking at this here now, I now want to quickly perform an exploratory data analysis on this to know one or two things, like how many years they were captured. If I click on this arrow here, I would notice that 2013, 2014, 2015 was captured. Remember, I can decide to filter out 2015 and 2014 and click OK. Then all I will have here now is data from 2013. You can see that now because I filtered out 2014 and 2015. So I can still bring it back again. Let me scroll up back. If I scroll up, I can now go back to my header. You can see when you filter, the filter icon will change. The filter arrow will change to a filter. I click on it now and I check this and click OK. I return it back again. You can see it's returned back. So I have up to 2015 here in my data set too. So let me zoom this a little bit so you can see it clearer. I believe you can see it a little clearer now. So if I want to know the distinct months captured in this data set, I click on this arrow. You can see April, December, February, January, March, May. These are the seasons where business were carried out, the months where businesses were carried out. And let's see the distinct products, that's item types. You see frozen yogurt, ice cream, popsicles, and tasty treats. So 4 items. 4 items, so it's clear there. And you can go ahead. Just how many salespersons do they have? Click on this arrow and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 salespersons. And what about regions? How many regions? You have 1, 2, 3, 4 regions. So this is a quick way to master and get used to the data set you're working with. Don't just jump into building a dashboard or cleaning a data set that you've not taken time to master exactly how it is. It's very important you do that, because that will give you a holistic idea on what you do. Already this data set, as the first thing we should have started doing now is to check for duplicate values and the rest of them. But remember, we've dealt with all this once previously. You can check my previous lecture, and this data set is clean already. So we're going to work on assumption that it is clean. If you want to still recall how to clean data and transform data, go back to my previous video. You're going to see that, and you will pick it up from there. So this is a clean data. I will manage to go ahead to begin to analyze the data. So having converted this data set formatted it to a table, then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on with creating pivot tables. We're going to start the analysis, and the analysis is going to begin with creating pivot table. Of course, I won't want to dwell here so much because I've dealt with pivot table so much in our previous class too. So I'll just go ahead to quickly create all the pivot tables needed, but I'm going to still do it with you so that you can follow me. But I might not be that so detailed there. If you want, go back to my previous class and pick it up. So we're going to go ahead and to To create the first pivot table, we click into the cell, and when we click into the cell, you can do that from, you go to table design, you can see summarize with pivot table. That's one way you can do it. Once you click into the cell, don't click outside the cell, click into the data set, into one of the cells in the data set, then go to table design. For table design, you go to summarize under tools, summarize with pivot table. That will take you to the report. Alternatively, you can go to insert, and from insert, you will see pivot table from the table. So any of them will take you to the point, but I'm going to use table design, and I'll say summarize with pivot table. And a dialog box appears asking me to select the table range. Automatically, you notice that my table has been selected by default, and I'm being asked to choose where I want the pivot to be placed. I'm given two options to place the pivot in my new worksheet or the existing worksheet. I want to place it on a new worksheet, which is the default setting. So I'll say it's already selected, and I click OK. And you notice the pivot engine appears now, ready to begin to perform the function. All right. So the first thing we're going to be doing is that we're going to be creating a pivot table, and like I explained in our pivot table, doing the pivoting is so easy. The main thing is knowing what you want to pivot, what you want another, what you drag to where you drag it depends on your objective. It depends on the key performance indicators that you want to showcase. It depends on the question, the business questions you want to answer. You don't just begin to answer anything at random. If you, from a data set, you can answer up to 100 questions, but how many of them are relevant to the company? You don't need to bore the company by just answering every question. There are some key questions that present business values. These are the ones you need to go straight to answer. So I'm going to just answer about 6 of them, but you can go ahead and answer more as a way of practicing. But I'm going to answer just about 6 of them now, about 6 of them. So I'd like you to just pay a little attention as I answer the 6 of them. Now, the first one I'm going to answer is I want to create my first pivot table by dragging Y. I will drag Y to row. I believe if you're not new here, you must have gone through my pivot table, so I don't need to explain why I drag Y to row. And when I drag Y to row, you notice that the 3 distinct rows are there. The 3 distinct rows are there. You can see that there now. 2013, 2014, 2015. Now I also want to drag month under row, under year here. So you can now see that years are broken down now into months: January, February, March, April, May, November, and December. That these are the months businesses were carried out. So you can see that they're broken down. I want you to observe what's going on here. They're broken down. Then the next I will want to do is let me drag cells. Let me drag cells. Look at cells here. These are the amounts and the revenues. I drag it to value. I believe you know the reason. So you can now see that from our pivot table now, that this year, this is the 2013, this is the total amount, and broken down January this, February this, March this, then 2014, this is the total amount, then broken down into months. So you can see how amazing a pivot table can be too. So the next we might need to do is to break it down further by dragging, let's drag region to column, and that will now further go ahead and break it down the more. So looking at this now, you will notice that we have in 2013, 13. In central, this is the total. Let me zoom this a little bit so you can get it clearer. Okay, when you zoom it and you have something like this, you can just stretch your row a little bit to have these values come out. Okay, you can see in 2013 we have this total amount from central, this total from north, this total from south and from west, and this is the grand total for the whole year. Then broken down in the months, the way they came each month. January, this January we have in central here, we have in north, then at the end the total for 2013, 2014, and 2015. So that's quite amazing. You can now see how that happens. So let me zoom this down again. Then after that now, we're going to now represent this in a chart. And because this involves time, revenue over time because 2013 talks about time, and January talks about time. So it's more or less like a time series trend, something that happened over time. So we're going to make use of one of our charts, which is the line chart. And if you come to pivot table analyze, you will see pivot from the tools area, you will see pivot chart. Look at pivot chart here. So I click on pivot chart and all the charts comes. I want to use the line chart, and I click on line chart and I click OK. Automatically, I've represented this in a chart. So you can now see that the chart is there showing this. I cannot keep it somewhere here. So looking at the chart now, I think we have that chart because about 3 years is involved and 4 regions are involved. So you see the legend here showing the 4 regions, and you cannot see the 3 years in 20. Let me zoom the chart a little bit. You cannot see the 2013, the events that took place there, then 2014, then 2015. Now, as when we make the chart interactive, you cannot see how we might choose to, from this chart, display only 2013 of what happened in a particular region. So let's just keep calm and move on. Now we have this now. So the next thing is to just do a little modification on our chart. I want to give it a chart title, but before then, I don't like all these keys on my chart. So I can right click on this and I will say hide all field buttons on chart. So it has it to make the chart look a little neat and simple. Then I need to also give the chart a title. There are so many things you can do to the chart. You can go back to where I treated pivot table and pivot chart. I explained that extensively. So to give the title, I might need to click on this plus sign here. On this plus sign here, I will now see different chart elements. You can see as I run through them, as you see, trend line, legend, and the rest of them. First of all, this legend, let me take the legend under. I come to legend, I click on the arrow here, I'll take it to the bottom. So the legend is at the bottom. Legend is what shows me how many regions that were considered. You can see the different colors. Central is blue, north is red, while this lemon color is south, and the purple color is west. Okay, so let me put the chart title. Look at chart title here. I click on the chart title and I can choose to put the chart title at above the chart, centered overlay, and more options. But let it be here. So I can come to this chart title and now I can now write what the chart represents. And remember, it was year. So this is a chart showing. I can say chart showing year, region, and Okay, region broken down by months. You can put your own anyhow you want, but this is just for a sample. And I can decide to highlight this, come to home, and make this a little smaller. And that's the much I can do for now. I don't want to do much. So that's all about this. So having done this now, I can now decide to come to the sheet, right click and rename the sheet as okay, that's an error here. Okay, I can start to name it as year, comma, region, so I can identify it, comma, month. Okay, I hit enter. That is name. That's an error here. So showing, yes. So you can just make your own better, but this is it now. So that's the first chart. We've represented the first chart. Now I like us to plot the second chart. Now it is usually advisable to create all the charts from one source. Create all the charts from one source to be able to encourage interactivity. What I mean by that is now that we have this pivot table now, so let the rest of the pivots and the charts be created from this. And how do we do that? We have to duplicate this. There are different ways of duplicating this. If I right click now and I right click on this, I want to duplicate, then I can go to move or copy, and I will also want to move it out within this cells data set. That's where I want to move it. Then I will click on create a copy. And once I say create a copy and I'm moving it within this, I click OK. It will create another copy for me. But in a simple way, just hold down this tab, then with your left mouse. I will point at it, I hold your left mouse down, then hold down the control key on your keyboard, then drag it this way. If you drag it to the right, then release your hand, it will just get duplicated. Let me repeat this again. Let me delete this. What I did was I held down this with my left mouse. The mouse has the left and the right click. The left click, which is the normal click, hold it down. And when you hold it down, then you will see the control button on your keyboard. Hold the control button down also. Then move your mouse as you're holding the left button down. Move it, then drop. Once you move it and drop, you will see a duplicate of this, which is the second one. You can see here region month 2. So this is the first one. So it's now duplicated. Now, since it is duplicated now, what we'll do now is when we come to this now, we'll have to delete this chart because we don't need it again. Then for this pivot table, we will now drag this out. Then drag this out, and then we can now drag this out also, and then drag this out. Then from this source, we can plot another one. From this source now, we can plot another one. And what's the next thing we want to plot? Let's get to know the region and how the revenue came in. So I drag region to row, and I can now drag cells to value. So you can now see that this is how revenues happen in each region. Let me zoom this a little bit. You can now see that in central you have this, in north you have this, in south, and the rest of them. So that's strictly simple. So to represent this in a chart, I click on this also, click on any cell, then I'll go to pivot analyze and go to pivot chart, and I click I can now decide to use any of the visuals. But let me use the column visual. I use the column, then I click on OK, and eventually I have this represented in the visual again. So you can have this. I reduce it a little bit, and of course, already I have a heading here. But I don't like this. I remove it. Hide buttons. I've done it before. Then I have only one legend because it's only one thing we're considering. So you can see from here, it's easy for you to know that the highest amount of revenue over the 3 years, considering the 3 years, came in through the central region, followed by the north region, then the west, and then the south. So the heading should not be revenue by region. Revenue by region, broken down by region. You can put it on better. That's not the main thing for now. I want to reduce this also, and I can now come here to also rename it here also, revenue by region, revenue by region. That's hit enter. So that's this now. So I'll duplicate this again also. How do I do that again? I believe you can attempt that. Can you attempt that? If you're doing it with me, remember I said do it with me. If you're doing it with me, then let's go on. Let's go on and understand what we're doing. Okay. So can we do it again? Okay, let me give you a little moment to attempt that to see what you can make of it. Let me give you just a few seconds to try that. Then we can move on if you're following me. Okay, now, so let's go ahead. I believe you might have made one or two attempts. But then let's now go ahead and duplicate this again. I hold on my left mouse and hold on my control key. Then I drag it to have I hold on this and then hold on my control key, then move it and have a duplicate of this. I don't have a need for this chart again. I delete the chart. Then I will drag out the region. And this time around now, let me break down sales, some of sales by sales persons, and I can have this now. You can see what I have now. Sum of sales by sales persons. So you can see Bishop, Lee, Parker. I can see the summary of all their sales. Then I can represent it also in a column chart, or possibly this time around I may use a bar chart. So I come around here to chart pivot chart. I've used bar chart before, column chart before now. So I want to use a bar chart. I select a bar chart and I click OK, and I have my bar chart already. I don't like this, so I can go ahead and hide all the buttons and look at the title. So I can now call this revenue broken down by sales persons, sales person. I think that's a good one. I may decide to reduce the font size a little bit, go to home, then I reduce the font size a little bit, and eventually I can now zoom down to have this. I can decide to reduce this, and that's as simple as that. So you can now see from here all we have. Then I can now go ahead again for the next chart. I now duplicate. I see also do a duplicate. I hold down this, hold down my control key, then duplicate again. And I have this. I don't have this Remember that this is duplicated one. This is let me rename this. So let me rename the revenue by, this should be revenue, I say rename, revenue by salesperson, by salesperson. That's revenue broken down by salesperson. Then the next one, remember I don't need this chart again. I delete the chart, and I don't need this salesperson again. This time around now, let me know revenue by year, revenue by year. If it is necessary, revenue by year, I can now bring this thing now. So you can see in 2013, this total revenue, 2014 total revenue for quick knowledge. And this is the grand total. So I can represent this in different ways. Depends on what I want. If I want to see the trend, if my interest is on seeing the trend, how revenues increase or reduce over year, then I'm going to use the line chart. So let me use the line chart. Let me use the line chart in this case. So I click on this, on the end of the chart, click on pivot table analyze, and go to pivot chart. Remember, I want to use a line chart, and click OK. So from the chart, you can see that revenue increased from 2013 to 2014. It increased, a very sharp increase, very beautiful business happened. So an increase in 2014. Then when you come to 2015, it dropped a little bit. So the company might want to know what exactly did we do within 2013 that made the revenue go up in 2014, and what happened that the revenue went down. So that's what we're going to do later. But for now, we are interested in the dashboard. So I can go ahead and remove this, hide this, then the now put the title. That's revenue total. This total revenue, total revenue by broken up by year, total revenue by year. That's a very wonderful one. Then I always like to reduce this. There are many other things you can do to this chart, but that's not our major interest for now. We just want to see how we can use this. So we already have about 4 different charts. This revenue by year. Let me rename this total revenue by year. You can name your own the way it suits you, but this is the way I want it. Then I can now go ahead. What about look at the product types. There's a need for us to know the product that sells most at a particular time. So we are going to do revenue by products. We're not going to, and then we have to remove this chart and possibly make use of. Let's make use of, whenever you are trying to compare, can use the column chart again. So you can now see that ice cream was sold more. If you accumulate the 4 years together, ice cream sold the highest, followed by tasty treats. Now, these visuals will help you make certain decisions. We're going to come to the point of decision making, where we will know what decision do we now make, what recommendations do I make for the company based on this visual now. For instance, if they sell more of ice, if they have more revenue from ice cream, it means they sell ice cream more. So the next thing is to drill down to know which months do they really have the highest sales, then which customers bought it, which salesperson actually sold it, in which region was it sold most. So these are things we're going to drill down when we begin to put the slicer. So for now, we have this. So I also put the heading 2. That's revenue by That should be by item type, by type, by type. All right, so that is an amazing one. I believe you're following. Just do it with me. Pause the video once in a while and do it. Then I also come here to rename it so that I can easily identify it when I begin to build my dashboard. That's revenue by item, by type rather, by type. That's friends to item also. So that is this now. I have about five of them. So let me make it the sixth one before we begin to build our dashboard. Let me see again which one again. What do we get to know? I've done a good number of them, and I think this is good enough. Okay, I think let's stop at this. There are many more we can be able to derive from this, but let's stop at this point. So let's take a look at this from the beginning. Now, if you come to this page and right click, you see all the. Okay, let's get to the end of this. You know, we're dealing with this table. So we come to this point. We have all our, okay, look, these are all our, that's the first one we did here. And let's look at this closely more to understand. So we have the following. If you right click here, if you right click, move this way, okay, instead you see that our first visual, year, region, and month. Our second visual, revenue by region. Our third one, revenue by salesperson. And we can go on to see all of them. If you right click this arrow here, you will see all of them. The first, then you will see the raw data also. So we have all of them here. So we have a total of, let's count a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 visuals. 4 visuals. So let's go ahead. In your own, you can decide to think out more, look at more. There are more to what you can do there. Assuming now I want to add an extra one. Now I can go ahead and get revenue by, okay, let me look at it to see. There are many things. I'm only trying to look at the one that will be very much relevant. Getting months. Okay, let's get to know. Let's get revenue broken down by months. That will help you to know the months that the highest amount of money was generated. So I drag months, and then let me delete this chart and represent it in a column chart so it can be straight for us to understand. There are other charts you can use like the tree map and the rest of them, but I want us to use simple charts that will help us. Even the area chart can be used in place of the line charts for trend, but that's not the issue now. So let's use the column chart and we'll have this. So for here now, you can see that cumulatively, the highest amount of money was generated in April, followed by possibly in February, and then the rest of them. So we can choose to sort it if we want. You can sort it. You can go back to my previous lecture and find out that. Then let's remove this and that's revenue by month. Revenue broken down by month. Okay. Then I can now also come to this point. Okay, I didn't save what I did previously. Okay, so I'm overwriting revenue by salesperson without duplicating it. So take note, we're going to correct that now. So revenue by month, revenue by month. That's what we overwrote. There's no problem about that. So let's go to the last one. Let's now duplicate this now to get our revenue by salesperson. That's it now. That was it. So I remove this and I will simply bring this over here. So we have revenue by salesperson. We mistakenly overwrote it then by salesperson. Then that's okay. Let me remove this. Let me hide all the field buttons. I think it's okay here. So let me correct it from the sheet tab. Revenue by that's sales person. Make sure you're doing it with me. If you're just listening to me, like some of my students will do, then you will end up enjoying the lecture and you will not do it. You will not understand it. So these are all the. So we have now a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 visuals. So that's it now. Then we've created the whole 5 visuals in different sheets. And remember that you can choose to create the whole 5 visuals in the same sheet. I will do that in our next tutorial. In the next project, we're going to begin to deal with when we complete the coffee sales dashboard. I will use that example there. Now, but having seen this, now the next thing is to begin to build a dashboard. So how do we build a dashboard? Now, the first step is we have to create a sheet now. We'll insert a sheet, right click any sheet and insert a new sheet after it. And we can call the sheet dashboard. But I prefer to insert the sheet, move the sheet to the end here, then I'll call it dashboard. I name it as dashboard. So dashboard. Okay. So that's my dashboard. And what I will now do is I will now come to each of these visuals and cut it. I right click on this. Remember, I didn't right click here. Right click on the white part of this your visual, your chart. Right click on it and cut it. Then you come to you go to your, scroll down to your dashboard. That's the dashboard there, and paste it. Either you use Ctrl V on your keyboard to paste it. And when you paste it, you can now carefully position it where it will be. I prefer to keep it here. But before I do that, I will have to, for best practice, I will have to I may decide to set up the page of this so that it can enter into one page of maybe an A4 so that the work will be a little organized. So what I will simply do is go to page layout and I go to paper size. I want to choose an A4 paper. Go for a paper. You can go to the beginning part of our Excel. You see where I treated that. Then I want to make it a landscape. Then if I come to this zoom and reduce it a little bit, you have an idea of, you can now see what it looks like. This one A4. Or otherwise, if I want to make it a little bigger, then I can make it, give it a little bigger size of paper so that it can accommodate what I'm doing. So to do that, I may decide to come to paper size and increase it to A3. So I will have it a little bigger now, and I think it's better. So you can now see what I want you to see these lines. This line here now, this line here shows that this is 1A3, this is 1A3. So when I want to preview it, I'll be able to preview the entire page so that I will make sure that all the charts entered in a particular selected page is better that way. So I will have to set it. Remember the rules I taught you at the beginning of our presentation. I place this here, then I will go back to the second one, revenue by region. I'll right click on it, I cut it. And when I cut it, and I move down to my dashboard and also paste it. I paste it on the dashboard. Now be very mindful of your layout. Be very mindful of your layout. I want to make this, you see, I'm trying to make it look a little bit well organized, snapping it to the grid, and try to make them same size. So I can place this here. I can place it here and eventually make sure it gets to this point. That's a little, okay, that's quite amazing. And I'm excited to balance it up a little bit to make it look a little better to this point. Then the same with this also. Then I have this. So you can now see my page is okay. I'm okay with this. Let me give some more gap up. Just arrange the way you want it, but make sure the layout is neat and be consistent with sizes. Then I have to go back again to the next one. Remember, this is the third one. I cut revenue by month. I cut it and I can now come to my dashboard and I paste it also. Control V, I paste it too. And I want it to be here now. Okay. I may decide to reduce this a little bit to have, okay, from what you can see, this may be too big a little bit. So I want to make this same size with this. So I can achieve that. And then just to be consistent, you can see how it looks like. I give a little gap here and make it look neat and presentable. You see that? The same thing play out here also, and I make it look a little neat and presentable. That's it. I reduce this a little bit. So I have, mind you, I'm looking at this line also so that it's all falling well. You can see what we're doing and the rest of them. So I've given it enough gap at the top. I can bring it further down a little bit to give enough gap between the two visuals. Then I go to the next one. I've copied this. That's why I cut it out. So I will know which one I've copied. I cut this also. Then I cut my dashboard and I paste it also. And permit me to make sure it's same size with this. Yes, at the preliminary level, this is what you should do. But as we go on, I'm going to see how to handle that. So we have it this way. So we have this now. Then I think we still have another one. This is revenue by, okay, let's go to this revenue by type. Now we have revenue by salesperson. So we'll cut it also. And we'll come and paste it too. We'll paste it too. Now, but in this case now, we might need to do one or two rearrangements to accommodate it. Remember, I already have something in mind, so I am working towards accommodating it effectively. Then I can now bring down this a little bit. I can now bring down this. I'm actually looking for a way of making sure that about 3 of them can enter. but that means I'm going to go further to reduce it the more. Or, okay, then I'm going to reduce it this way. Then I bring it down. Just follow me. You see, that's just a mere arrangement. It doesn't, you can arrange the way you want, but I'm trying to put up, put it up the way I want. I would have done this off camera, but I want you to witness me doing it. I want you to witness it so you see that it's just something you can do and do well. So I have this here, I have this here. I want to place this here also, so I can now have this here, then give a little space here between it and the other ones. And I take this up a little bit, space it out here, space out this also, and possibly make it a little bigger here. And I have this. So I have three of them here. So this one, because I have something in mind, I place this here, reduce it to be of same size with this, then bring this also down here, then reduce this to same size with this. I want to put some slicers here. I'm creating this space for slicers, so you just watch what I'm doing. So I think this arrangement is done. I've gotten the arrangement I want. So we have this. We can decide to zoom up a little bit. You can now see this. See this. So this is a chart showing year region broken down by month. This is revenue by salesperson. This is revenue by month. This is revenue by region, and so on. I think I used one bar chart in my work. Maybe I mistakenly removed it. But there's no problem about that. We can move on with this because we're just illustrating. When we have more analysis to do, there might be need for us to begin to extend our hands to several other kind of visuals, like the pie chart, the donut chart, the tree map, the area chart, and the rest of them. So these are the things we may need later. But for now, let's make do with this. So we have normal revenue by person, revenue by month, revenue by region, and revenue by type. So let me remove this also to have more space here. And I think that's in order now. Okay, so the next thing is to insert interactivity to the site, to the dashboard. This dashboard now is, at this point, looks dead. It's not. There's no interaction in it, and it's not exciting to look at it this way. So to make your site interactive, you insert slicer. There are two ways of inserting slicers to your work. Once you click on a chart that you want to insert a slicer, you can right click on the field that you want to slice by. Like in this case now, if I want to slice by year, so I right click year and I'll have to look for add a report filter. Once I click on it, it adds a report filter for me. Wait a moment, let's look at what just happened. Okay. That's our work. Okay. Yeah, okay. We can use any of this. Let's say you right click you select this and you right click on it to add a slicer. So you have to add a slicer. It adds a slicer for you. Now that's the slicer. But alternatively, you can still do this by selecting the visual or the chart. Then you go to data. From data, you can now look for slicer. You can look for the slicer. Sorry, or no, insert. From insert, you look at, you see slicer here. We also have timeline here. We'll come to it later, but this is slicer. Click on it. You can see, you click on it, you can now choose the slicers. This one gives you an opportunity to choose all the slicers you want at a time. The previous one, when we right clicked here, we can only choose one slicer at a time. We can choose only one slicer at a time, but in this case, when we click here and go to insert, we can select slicer and we can choose the slicer of our choice. That is, I want to slice by year. I also want to slice by month. I want to slice by region, and I may want to slice by item type. So these are my four slicers: year, month, type, and region. Okay, but if I okay, let me slice by only year, month, and region, and I click OK. The first slicers will appear automatically. First slicer appear automatically, and once they appear, I want to set them within this space I have now, so I can arrange it. For instance, now since I selected this and slice by year, look at what happens. If I click on 2013, you notice that the information about 2013 will be displayed for me, and the slicer button will change and show you that something has been sliced. So the information you're seeing here now is what happened within 2013, because I've sliced by 2013. Then I can remove the slicer and then slice by 2014. I can also, it's easy for me to know, okay, what happened in 2015. I can now see how revenues increased. For in 2015, you can see that for the central, revenue kept going down and down and down. It came to this point in May, then it went up a little bit and went down. So that's a bad business. Then if you look at, let's say, North, now revenue kept on increasing. It kept increasing. Look at the red until it came to this point. That is April, where you had the peak, and started going down again, and they had a bad business. So if you look at them, you realize that you can easily tell how business moved over time. That is very important. Then in 2014, you notice something also, and in 2013, you notice something also. Then you can remove the slicer, and then all of them will appear. So that's for this. That's for this. So when you come to month, okay, let's look at month. Now, in 2013, in the month of January, let's see what happened. Okay, you might not, because it becomes a point, so it will be cleared. So let's remove the slicer. Let's look at this. Let's bring in this. Okay, since we have this three now. Okay, so we have this, and we have this, and we have this. Okay, now in 2013, in the region central, did you see now how I was able to select what happened in 2013 in central alone? What about north? I select what has happened in each of them, one after the other. One after the other. You see that this is north. So what about south? Do you see south? What about west? So you can now see that in 2014, what about central, north, south, west? So you can easily know what has happened. That is what it means to say that the dashboard is interactive. You can now ask questions and they will be answered easily by mere clicking on them. But then that's a good one. What if I want to add another slicer? Let me add another slicer, and that may be for, I say insert, that may be for salesperson, because we omitted it. Okay. for salesperson, that is salespersons, and I may decide to put it underneath here because I have a space here where it can enter. Yes. So I arrange this a little bit up. Then I have this salesperson here. Let me reduce this a little bit. So I can have this inserted here a little bit. Okay, and I bring this down slightly too. So I may decide to go ahead to find out what happened in 2013. In 2013, by Bishop. 2013 by Bishop. So you can now see that Bishop is in the west. What about Lee? Of course, the west is highlighted, so these ones are not in the west, but the only person in the west is Bishop. That's why Bishop is highlighted. So you can now see Bishop's transactions all through, his performances in the west all through. So that is quite amazing. But let me remove all the filters and return back to the entire data. So having seen this, you can now decide to arrange this to look a little better than it was before. Okay, for this, I can bring this over here because it looks a little shorter. Then I have this, bring it down a little bit, bring this down too. Then I can now bring this here just to fill up the gap here. So that's okay now. So, but if you are observant, you will notice that when you click on 2013, watch it now, you notice that there's no interactivity in other visuals. No interactivity in other visuals. This is because we only selected this when we created this slicer. So how do we connect this slicer to automatically also create changes or create interaction with other slicers? Very simple. What we'll do is we'll come to the slicer, we want to connect to other ones, right click on it, and you will look for report connection. So now these are reports. All these visuals are reports. So we'll go to report connections, and you will notice that is only one that is highlighted, which is the one that you use as a focal point. So the rest of them are not highlighted. So what we'll do to connect them is to highlight them. And once we highlight them and click OK, simply you will notice that each time you now click on here, you will see that all the visuals are now interacting. If I reduce this a little bit down, you will notice that whenever you click on this, the whole visuals will be interacting now. So it will also be applicable to other ones. So we simply have to come to mount, right click on mount, go to report connection, and perform all the connections. Click OK, come to region, right click on region, go to report connection, and highlight all of them. Remember, it's only one that should be highlighted. Click OK. Then we come to we'll come to salesperson, and then we also do the same thing. And once we succeed in doing the same thing, then we're done. So it becomes so easy. Let me remove the filter here. It becomes so easy. At least these ones we can see that are visually available for us now. I can now decide to ask a question like if I'm looking at the revenue by month. If I'm looking at revenue by month, I want to know the revenue by months. Let's look at in this region. If I click on region, you can see the revenues. Okay, I can now get what happened in this region in 2013, 2014, and 2015. You can see that now. I clicked on central, and from the first, I can see what happened in each of the years, but only for central. And I can also see the revenues by salespersons for central. And it becomes too clear to me that we have two persons from central, that is Lee and Watson. And we can now see also the cumulative monthly revenues too. And you can now see from so you can now see how the reactions are. So looking at this, you can easily see that in central, just let me repeat this, in central, we have all these performances. And what if I want to know further, what about in central in 2013? So central in 2013, you can see that this change, what about 2014, what about 2015? Then let me remove the filter. What about if I want to know in not for 2013, 2014? So I can also know the performances of everybody, and that's just a good way to continue. So looking at this now, you can see that it's too clear that our dashboard is very much interactive now. So now that it is interactive, then the next thing we will do is possibly we might need to insert, let's come to the header here. We might need to go to insert and select a shape, maybe a text box. And on the text box, we can color the text box blue. Remember, you very careful with colors you're using. Let me make it blue, just to see the color I'm using. And I will now put up the introductory heading. I can now say dash, let me type in uppercase, dashboard showing sales for 2013 to 2015. Or you can say data analysis dashboard. Data analysis dashboard. So I can now highlight this and center it, make it a little bold so it can be readable, and center this here, then change this to white, so the font color to white. Let me look for the font color. Let me highlight this. So this is the font color. Then I have to make it white. The colors. Okay, let's see more colors. I put this. Okay, I think I prefer this. All right. So this is a dashboard, data analysis dashboard showing sales for 2013 to 2015. You can put what you like. If you have a need, if you want to put the company logo, you can reduce this a little bit. Maybe put the company logo here. And to put the company logo, you can still go to insert. From picture, you can, if you have the logo in this your device, you can decide to get the logo. Let me just get a logo. Let me just get a logo. a picture logo. I can now represent with my logo. You can just say, okay, this the company logo. You can just say, pick it up, and you can decide to insert the company logo somewhere around here. That's just amazing. Okay, then you can expand this too, and we'll have this now. So that is it. So we've been able to make it meaningful. So the next thing we're going to do briefly will be to remove these grid lines so that it can look purely like a dashboard. Let it look more like a dashboard. That's what we want to do. Let it look more like a dashboard. So what we'll do is we go to view, the view tab, and we can remove the grid lines. These lines you're seeing here can be removed. You see that grid lines are off. You click on it, the grid lines are out. But because it's a dashboard, we don't want those grid lines, so we remove the grid lines. Then we don't want this formula bar. The formula bar is already off, but look at this. Formula bar, we don't want it, so we remove it. Then you can see the column headers, A, B, C, D, and the row numbers, 1, 2, 3. We don't want it also on that, so we have to remove it. Look at it here now, headings. That's beautiful. So that's quite amazing. Then the next thing we do is these scroll bars and these tabs, we don't want them because we only want this dashboard. So we can either export it or convert it to PDF and let it show, or take a snapshot of it. That's just what we want. So what we'll do finally to remove this is we'll go to File. Just follow me to File, go to Options. Now from Options, you can now scroll down. You scroll down, I think, to Advanced. Go to Advanced. From Advanced, you scroll down, searching for display for this book. Look at this, display options for this book, because we're dealing with this book. But this book that is open now, I don't want it to show horizontal scroll bar. I uncheck it. I don't want it to show the vertical scroll bar. Look at this. I uncheck it. I don't want it to show the sheet tabs. Those sheet tabs. So I uncheck it. And I think that's enough for me. And I click OK. So obviously you can now see that we have only the dashboard showing here now. And that's quite amazing. So you can go ahead and save your dashboard. Let me save it to my folder here. It says data set. Let me say set data set dashboard. That's what I want to save it with, and click on save. Then maybe I want to save it in PDF. I just saved it in Excel format. Let me save it in PDF. Save as. Let me browse to my desktop. Let me save it on my desktop, and I come to save as type. Click on save as type, and I look for PDF. Look at PDF, and I click on save. And once it saves, of course, it will automatically open the PDF for you to see. So you cannot see the dashboard. Otherwise, I can close it and minimize, then go to my desktop and see it. So I can double click on this to open it again, so you can have a good view of it. So that's it. That's all about the dashboard, and you can see how it looks like now. That's pretty amazing, and that's what you can do with Microsoft Excel. At this point, the dashboard will not be interactive, and as we go on, I will teach you what to do to make the dashboard interactive, even after you're done with the work, for anybody to see it. we'll look at more of that in our Power BI and Tableau. But it's quite amazing. It's been a very wonderful lesson today. Please try to replay the video, pause at every point, make your notes, and understand. You can now ask questions. Please just know that the data set used in this tutorial is in the description section. You can download it and follow me. Then the presentation also is there, and you can also have this finished work also there too. You can download that. In our next class, we're going to take up another project on dashboard again. This time around is going to be another interesting real life data set. I will analyze it and as we move on. So thank you for being in the lesson, and I hope you enjoy the lesson. I'd like you to find somebody and teach this. You understand more when you practice with people. And so see you in our next class. Yeah, I hope you had a wonderful time with me. I believe you followed me from the beginning to the end. That's quite amazing. I'd like you to take time to go through the lecture over and over again. And feel free to send your questions, make your comments. And in our next class, we're coming up with another amazing project that you will not want to miss. So just keep joining us in our class. Have a nice day.